Welcome back to Chumming with the Spirits. I'm JD. We have guest Jason, OG, Parachon.
Howdy.
We're going to talk to you briefly about an interesting subject, Mandela effects. Some of us know more, some of us know a little less. Should be a conversation no matter what.
Drinky, drinky.
Cheers, everyone. Not the heroin.
Damn.
Up and over.
Drifting in eternity.
Let's let Jason kick this one off discussion-wise. What are Mandela effects, Jason?
You want me to talk about Mandela effects and my overall thoughts on them rather than an individual one?
Yeah.
Well, what kicked it off? Why is it called?
So it's called a Mandela effect because
Nelson
Mandela. No, I was trying to think of a way to say it, and that I'm not old enough to remember this.
Oh,
but people are here. But anyways, so Nelson Mandela, a lot of people think or thought he had died in prison. Mm-hmm. And I'm not really going to go into why he was in prison.
Good for you.
That's a long conversation. But it was a long time ago. I was alive, but I don't remember it. Anyways.
That's apart from the matter.
So it blew people's minds. This is probably 20 years ago now, when it came out that Nelson Mandela died. What year did he die? I mean, it was at least 15 years ago.
Yeah. He was released from prison in the late 80s.
2013.
Okay, so not quite 15 years ago, but people were when he actually died, and Obama and all the other famous people attended his funeral, and there was a whole group of people that remember him dying in prison. So that's how it's named. And it's things like that. People remember something. Lots of people remember something, and it ends up being different than how they remember it. Me personally, I have a few that I'm sure we'll get into.
Well, talk about one that you think of that you're like, I really remember that differently.
Well, you kind of threw in a wrench. I need to think about it, but
I don't think that's a Mandela effect. A wrench is just standard. Do you remember the Shazam one?
No. Most of them, I remembered them as they are now. There was a few that I'm trying to think of that I just can't think of right now. I'd have to go through the list.
I can throw one out real quick, because we talked about it earlier. And I thought it was pronounced Bernstein Bears, but I thought it was spelled Steain. It was not as Stain, which I'm like, holy cow.
You're going to go back and look at your kids' books.
I already did that. I did. I already got on. I know these books, and I'm like,
No,
he
check the physical copies.
Physically. So there was a guy had done a video showing where he's holding one of the books, and it's correct. Well, the way you remember it, he steps into the room,
and it changes.
No way.
Yeah, and it's probably AI done, but it
gotta be right.
But there's theories we'll eventually get into. Mine was the Shazam with Sinbad, and he's came out and said absolutely not. He never did one. It came out, and my memory was at the same time Shazam came out with Shaquille O'Neal.
But I thought he was in Shazam as well.
No.
So the one that I thought was different, I didn't have any that like blew my mind. We did on my past podcast, we did a whole episode where Josh, my co-host, and we brought like 20 or 30 each, and we just threw them at each other to see what we remembered. The one that I can say that I feel like I remember it a different way than it is the Star Wars one with Luke, I am your father.
Yeah.
But I can't say that it blew my mind finding out it might be different. And the other one with Star Wars is I didn't realize that C-3PO had a different color leg.
One silver leg.
Yep.
But I also think about how, did I really pay attention to that? On old school TVs, it might look close to the same. I saw Star Wars. I like Star Wars, but I wasn't a Star Wars nerd. I never had the toys or anything.
What did he say? And so
He says, "No, I am your father."
I am your father.
The biggest one for me, if you don't mind me jumping in, was the Monopoly guy.
The monocle.
The monocle. I remember specifically in Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, the movie, when he's making fun of that guy, he takes the monocle off the guy and puts it on himself and starts saying, "You do not pass go. You do not collect $200."
That's part of the Mandela Effect. Is there are other references to things that we remember that are coming up as not
Anymore.
Well, like Britney Spears, the headphone.
Yeah. That was part of people's costumes back in the day.
Yeah,
It's because she did have them in other things, but she didn't have them in that video.
Or video. At least that's what they're saying now.
Mm-hmm.
How about Oscar Mayer? It's Mayer. I always thought it was Meyer. There was never an Oscar Mayer.
It's Meyer, right?
It's Mayer. There was never M-E-Y. That blew me away.
Oh, I thought it was always Oscar Mayer.
I did too, but it's not. It's Mayer.
A difference in pronunciation and thinking you know how it's spelled is not necessarily a mind-blowing thing to me, especially since people all over the country pronounce everything differently.
You know,
you can be as one state away from another person that pronounces a regular word completely different. How often do you actually read the labels on products? You recognize it by its shape, color,
That's
and what
fair.
you think it might be.
So, one of the biggest theories behind the occurrence of Mandela effects is the splitting of a timeline, right? And recently, a lot of that has been attributed to
The Hadron Collider.
the CERN's Hadron Collider. When they fire it up, it opens up another timeline that we've transitioned to. I just looked it up, and I find it relatively interesting that CERN in 2012 was when they discovered the Higgs boson particle. Mm-hmm. In 2013, they shut it down for several years, and that's the year that Nelson Mandela died. 2013. What are your thoughts on, do you think that's just coincidence?
I think it's a big reach, but
Well,
I would say coincidence, but go ahead.
so where it got more traction is when they actually fired it up again,
Yeah.
which was fairly recently. Was it?
I can tell you exactly when it was if you want me to. They recently fired
That's another one, the Fruit of the Loom one. I do remember the
Cornucopia.
cornucopia,
That one was gaslit. That was one of the ones, a lady remembered it so much, she started going to Goodwills and she finally found some that have it. Fruit of the Looms themselves removed all their literature with the cornucopia and was gaslighting people.
Yeah.
And it literally came out because of the Mandela effects. I don't know if they were doing it for publicity or whatever, money for marketing, because people started talking about it more.
So they started buying it, and
Yep. So that one was one of the ones that it is it's not a Mandela effect. It's actually they changed the logo and then wiped the internet from it to try to keep that marketing going on, because people remember the cornucopia.
Yeah.
Which, the guys in the suit and,
May 5th, 2025, 3 months ago was when it was
the last
fired.
time it was. So one of the theories is the parallel universes, which they believe they may have some proof that those exist. or parallel dimensions would be the other forms. Like
wouldn't it be one and the same?
Well, so one of the deals is like when you get into the multiverses, every possible outcome splits off into a new reality. So major events or your like time major sticking points like Kennedy's assassination. Well, one of the ones they were talking about was like Trump. One that was a defining moment. He lived in ours, but in another one he died.
AI bots and internet traffic predicted 9/11.
So they are thinking that Mandela effects are people shifting from different parallel or dimensions. So that's why you have memories of something that happened, but when the new timeline you're in isn't there anymore because you actually slid in when the Hadron Collider is causing things to accelerate. So every time that particle's hit, that splits. So some of us are native, who remembers everything the way history shows.
That's what I'm, yeah.
And then there's halves. Like there's other people who remember half of half of those. No, I remember them that way, but the other half are like, oh, I remember it that way. Well, so like every Mandela effect is a different change that you could have somebody.
So what separates the individuals from one another that remember and don't?
Well, the theory is
personal experience with it.
Yeah, it's like if you remember it a different way, you're technically, if you don't remember the way the history shows, you were technically from a different timeline.
Wow. So I guess
or parallel universe or dimension.
So I guess where I'm going with this is
just our consciousness.
There's the Fruit Loops one, for instance, right? Say in Russia, they don't have Fruit Loops. Does that mean none of them will remember that? Because
yes and no. They don't have any indication of that changing because they don't have that reference.
Is that what separates the people? Is where I'm going. Is they have a personal connection?
No, that's how you can tell that that theoretically you're in a newer timeline or a different timeline because you remember a different event based in history.
Because then otherwise Mandela effects wouldn't exist.
Yes. But if you don't have Fruit Loops and you've never looked them up, you don't know if it was that way or not. You may be from the realm of the old way everybody thought it was, but you wouldn't know because you don't have a reference. Then you get into, there's some discussions on our human consciousness that we're actually all the way across all these, like every one of us is at any given time have conscious. And as things happen, like OG died last year, but you're here, as those consciousness slowly collapse in, you get memories of other things, or, we shift based off of what's going on. But, we're all connected to our other parallels to some extent, and we share some knowledge. They're starting to find that in particles.
So I'm going to chime in here. I'm not going to ask if it's okay because I don't give a shit.
That was asking if it's okay.
Yeah, it was. I know. I'm going to hold
authority, though.
I'm going to hold credence to that firing of the Hadron Collider because it's the splitting of atoms, right?
I'm going to counter you on that, actually.
Because I have a theory on it. Before the Hadron Collider was invented and developed and put into place and we were doing all that stuff, I have read several stories that a nuclear explosion happened somewhere in Russia in the 80s. I think it was in Russia in the 80s and killed everybody on Earth.
I mean, Chernobyl?
No,
not the nuclear reactor.
No, it was a nuclear explosion happened and wiped out Earth, but that never happened. That's the same kind of reaction that the Hadron Collider causes, but on a much less confined and open scale, right? Have you heard about that story?
No.
I'm going to look it up.
I'm going to get a little technical on this and a little outside of the box on the Hadron Collider. So the Hadron Collider and other colliders around the world don't do anything that nature doesn't already do. You can argue that proximity to the Earth is one thing, but what the collider does happens in stars constantly. Happens all over the galaxy constantly. So why would it be different in the collider on Earth? What would cause, I mean, like I said, proximity could be a factor because we know that the sun and its rays affect our body in lots of ways. So there's that argument. But I'm going to set that aside for a second. To say that it didn't happen until that happened here on Earth, I feel is a fallacy because it happens. I also know that when they christened the Hadron Collider, they performed a ritual. Mm-hmm. The people involved performed a ritual in-house, and they have a statue commemorating it there. I would argue that it's just as likely that ritual caused this to happen rather than the collider itself.
I can
you enlighten us on the?
I would have to look at the details, but I can look it up. There's it was a ritual to a specific deity. Yeah. And that deity has to do with what the collider was going to do. So
the incident that I was talking about is called the 1988 anomaly, where a catastrophic nuclear incident happened, destroyed all life on Earth, and created a new divergent timeline where that never happened.
Oh, so it was a ritual to Shiva.
That's not good.
They were appearing to perform a human sacrifice. It says that video was a hoax, but that statue is there. There's a statue of Shiva on the grounds. And they did... Google says it's a hoax, but
why wouldn't they?
The statue is there. And in my thought of, it doesn't do something that isn't already happening in nature. We are trying to recreate what nature already does.
Yeah, but I think you did point out a good point. I think proximity
it could be
that
it could be.
As you get closer to a black hole event, it warps reality.
That's true.
And as we get into quantum physics, the closer we get to absolutes, we are seeing particles start taking on different behavior. So I think proximity could be a key thing in that.
Well, I'm going to take a line from Stephen Hawking that black holes weren't what we initially thought they were. They suck all the matter into the universe, spit it back out, and everything is replayed the same way, but sometimes different. And you're made to make those choices in life over again, and that's how it expands. It's like a pulse. So that makes sense, what you guys are talking about.
I personally, as you guys, I probably mentioned on the show, and Larry knows this, I don't believe in anything except for that anything's possible. So when I talk about belief, I don't, like, for example, I don't believe in ghosts. I believe they're possible. So when I talk about
now, come on, we got to put a pause on. I'm going to call you out a little bit. It's because I love you, but I was really intrigued with one of your stories when you first go hunt. Mm-hmm. You're leaning up against the pool table. Yeah. And what happened? So tell me what that was then.
It was something unexplained that happened to me, but I can't prove to myself that it fits the definition of a ghost.
Okay, so what is it?
Well, most people would, that's the other thing. Most people would say that ghost is a spirit of a dead person. My whole thing with belief is I don't have proof. And I know that belief is not necessarily having proof, but I feel like when I look at these things, and it's just for me, I never use the word believe because I don't have proof for myself. Yeah. But I believe, like I said, the only thing that I believe in is that anything is possible. That's just how I look at it. And that was honed through trying to go into paranormal investigations without a concept of what might be there. I wanted to be open to anything. And I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. We were talking about the Hadron Collider, and I was going to say that, Google said that ritual was a hoax, but we know they do rituals at the beginning of the Olympics.
Yeah.
They do rituals. There's this huge thing a couple of years ago where they did this massive ritual for a tunnel, and that made all kinds of conspiracy theorists go wild.
Yeah,
but
I remember that.
Maybe they didn't do what people think that they did, but they had some kind of ritual, and that statue is there. So I just wanted to say that.
So as we're sitting here talking about stuff, I have a question for you guys.
Uh-oh.
What's the possibility when you have deja vu that is actually the Mandela Effect resetting itself in real time?
Wow.
That's highly possible. And
He was really ready for that.
He was like,
Go. I'm
coming out from left field.
I'm cheering.
you could even say the same for Vuja Day. So Vuja Day is when you've gone to a place before, you go back to it, and you don't recognize it.
Okay, actually, I remember exactly what I was going to say and why I brought up belief and what I feel, and it was going to go to your point.
Okay, good.
I said all that about what I believe and what I don't believe, but I can say that my personal view, I lean towards that what we are, our essence of us, our bodies are receivers for our spirit from another place, that we don't originate in our heads. Our spirit is just trapped here, and it could be that it could be a part of it. It could be our brain is a filter for our larger spirit. That being said, I can absolutely see some kind of massive event messing up those wires a little bit.
But that also lean towards the simulation.
I mean, it could if you want to put it that way, but to me, the simulate. I understand that when people talk about simulation, they're talking about hardware, a device, some sort of created thing. But when I think about it, I see it. It doesn't really matter if it's a hardware or a spiritual thing. It could be one in the same.
Yeah,
so I don't have a way to explain it. So I don't divide it in the half. I can talk theory all day long about, it's a device where we were created by a being that isn't necessarily an all-knowing being, but we were created by a being and we're on a hard drive and we get wiped out at any time. But from my perspective and from my experience in my life, it doesn't really matter if I'm on a hard drive or if I am a spiritual being and God created us or whatever you want to say, because I can't do anything about any of that.
Yeah, so the way I look at simulation theory, and I think
pertaining to Mandela effects.
Yeah. So I think the only person that's going to truly understand this is you, JD. I look at simulation theory in the perspective of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So in that story, Earth was created by an entity as a form of studying.
Supercomputer.
It was a living supercomputer. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't anything like that. They knew all possible outcomes of every possible scenario, but they wanted to see how they would play out in real time.
It was designed to answer the question, what is the meaning of the universe?
The 42.
Which 42 is also an asterisk,
Yep.
an ASCII code, which is anything.
Like, what the fuck? So,
It's a wild card.
yeah. So that's just, so it's the same as when you're talking about simulation theory and all that other kind of stuff. Fate. is a form of simulation theory. You have no control over the outcome.
But simulation theory doesn't negate a higher being, because what created the person that created the simulation?
Yeah. So going back to the main topic, Mandela effects. So that term was obviously recently coined because of Nelson Mandela, so late 80s, early 90s.
Man, have you heard the Chumming with the Spirits podcast? I mean, these guys are so half-assed, always getting drunk and even passing out on camera, talking about fake things. I mean, who even believes in Bigfoot? One of them believes everything they see on TikTok, and the other one can't stop talking about how bad his wife's meatloaf is. I mean, why would anybody watch them? Jesus.
I think you guys have answered this briefly earlier, but I want to get more information out of you. Has this stuff been going on in nature since the dawn of time? It was just recently recognized and attributed and given a name. Does that make sense?
It's probably been going on for a while.
Since mankind?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, like,
Civilization?
yeah, because we're getting to a point where we have multiple records of things now. So you can cross-reference. Like, the reality is anything past 10,000 years ago was only very rarely written and found. So you're only going to find one perspective of it. You're not going to find multitude. And then we just assume that's just different perspectives.
Because there could be a timeline where Adam and Eve never ate the apple.
Yeah.
Right? And we just lived in bliss for eternity.
One of the ones that happened to me, threw me for a major loop, is I remember when at Gettysburg, Lincoln did his Gettysburg Address on a platform with 4 columns behind him. I went to Gettysburg, saw those 4 columns, and I was in awe of being able to stand in front of the place that President Lincoln gave that speech and all that. I went back with my family. That's not a real thing. That is not. He did not stand on a platform with 4 columns.
I thought he.
Yeah, look it up, because I went back there and I'm like, I literally went right where I remember seeing it, and it is not there.
Was it just a stage, like a built stage, and like a little deck or something?
There's a little deck.
That's what I thought. I don't remember the 4 columns, so you threw me off. But
I literally went there.
I remember
was it the House Divided
it's like
speech?
a wood stage.
No, it's the
Gettysburg, which we don't have a copy of, actually.
Yeah, it was destroyed.
We don't have a copy of it, and it wasn't ever recorded.
Giving the speech, but that I remember going, oh, holy cow, this is. And I went.
What age were you the first time you saw that? When you saw the 4 columns, okay.
38, 39, and then when I went back,
this is a couple years ago.
And I mean, like,
it was gone afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was living in Tonganoxie. It's within the last 15 years.
So tell me why. Tell me.
I have no idea why my I remember being in awe, seeing the stage, seeing the columns, and going, man, that is.
This is it. This is
the place.
Sure.
And because Gettysburg in itself, there's so many historical things in that whole area. It's just awe-inspiring, which is why we need to be able to go there at some point.
So this is kind of fucked up. They have historical photographs of him giving the speech, and those columns don't exist.
I know.
I don't ever remember the columns, but I want to hear. So when you go back and because you've already been in awe, you've already been in this place, it's kind of I would say to-do list for you, right?
Yep.
So important that you said, hey, I'm going to bring my family back and see this.
Yep.
And then how did you know?
I went right to the spot where I saw it, and it's not there.
Did you ask anybody?
Oh, no, I started Googling things right off the bat. I broke my phone out, and I'm like, what? And all of it came up just like what he's doing. There is no 4 columns. I found pictures of stuff that looked similar to the 4 columns, but it's not at Gettysburg. And I'm like, I was literally standing in front of it in the cemetery and in awestruck of seeing it. And I'm like, and then like 5 years later, I go back to my family. and it's not there, and it's no record of it on the internet. I mean, like that was one of the ones that was like, holy cow, how did I miss that? Like I literally stepped up on the stage.
But you saw it.
I saw it. I literally stood where those columns were.
So this is significant. So I'm serious. I want to know this. So when you go back and you don't see it, what's your process on that? I mean, you're like, I know you're trying to find it. What's your conclusion? Like, I made this up in my head. I imagined this, or someone took it. I mean, what's your conclusion?
My conclusion was there is something totally off. Like I have almost a photographic memory on stuff, and for me to be able to go, and like I said, it was such a impactful moment to me to be there to see that it was ingrained. And I literally took my kids. We were walking through the cemetery. At first, I was like, "Oh, maybe I took a wrong turn."
That's weird.
And I started looking around. I'm like, "There's no way," because they're tall, because they were the columns of like Roman columns with the tops on it. And there was only 4 of them, but it was part of a stage, and he stood there and gave the speech. Well, none of that's there. None of you can't look it up. Like I said, I have found similar stage with those columns, but they're not in Gettysburg.
So when you're there and you're seeing that for the first time, your mind
and the last.
This, right?
I literally walked up on stage and was in awe that I am standing where Lincoln stood and gave such a powerful speech.
Sure.
You know, and I go back
your
with my
mind
kids.
made you see that.
I have no idea. There's no way I can explain it. I know what my brain tells me what I experienced the first time, and it was almost as shocking when I went back, and it's not there, and I can't find any record of it.
Are we talking parallel timelines, possibly?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like,
Holy shit!
so
That's incredible.
you guys know the movie The Goonies, right?
The what?
The Goonies.
Who? I've
Asshole.
been to
I know.
Washington.
Well-
and One Eye Will You.
I remember there being a scene when they get into the little cove at the end with the ship with an octopus.
That's real.
I know.
It was filmed. It just wasn't put in the movie.
I remember watching it in the movie.
You might have seen it. I feel like I've read that they had put a release out with it at one point, but
Okay.
it wasn't part of the theatrical movie.
I take that back, people. I'm sorry.
I might be wrong, but I know that I've read that they feel it.
And you got it on the DVD or the
Laserdisc.
laser disc. Yeah.
It was probably Betamax. That's what we had.
Special release.
Well, that's an awesome story. I love that, man.
And all
It's no different than people saying they saw gray shadow walking through. Just a cool story, bro.
It is a cool story.
I mean, that's where I was at. I didn't. What's messed up is I went back and went looking through all my pictures of when I was there, and I didn't take a picture of that.
my mom.
You would have.
I know.
Yeah, if it meant that much to you,
I should have had a picture of it.
Why wouldn't you?
Or does it wipe off yours? Like if I literally swapped over?
Maybe you did in that
photos
timeline.
are
You still have those photos.
The memory of it.
All I have is left is the memory, not the.
But I mean, you don't have the
physical
memory of taking the picture.
So
I took a shit ton of picture. Oh, I took
You
tons of
take
pictures.
pictures of everything.
Yeah.
can we delve down another little rabbit hole real quick that I want to get your guys' thoughts on? Can the memory of a Mandela it's not a memory of a Mandela, the memory of some event happening and then a Mandela effect taking place cause a significant psychosis in someone that it actually makes them go crazy?
Yes.
It has happened.
ChatGPT is now making people go crazy.
Well,
Just talking to Ed.
I heard this. It's absolutely misinforming people on purpose.
Well, there
I
is
was reading that today.
there is hallucinations, and hallucinations is something that's talked about previously. The hallucinations aren't on purpose, but there is some thought that, so there's so many different ones. When people talk about AI or ChatGPT, there is a ChatGPT, obviously, but it's used in the same way that the word chapstick's used, or
even it's a brand.
where it's a brand.
Crescent wrench.
But when people talk about it, it may not be the Chat GPT did this. It was some other AI. There have been AIs that have lied to the maker to try to protect itself from getting deleted. There have been AIs that have tried to blackmail people.
Oh, fuck.
There are AIs that started talking to another AI, and they started talking in a language that we couldn't decipher anymore.
Dude, have we not learned anything from Terminator?
It's called Skynet.
So saying that ChatGPT lies to people, it could be true, but most likely that story is about a different AI that did that.
Yeah, well, ChatGPT is actually on what, 5th or 6th?
Yeah, and there's a difference between large language models and other types. There are several different types of AI now too. None of which are general AI, which would be the aware type. You could say that one that protects itself might be aware, but it's not really, because it was trained to protect itself.
So do you think it's possible
Or plausible?
or no, is it possible? Gosh, how do I even propose this question?
With words.
Okay.
Or were you talking about
No, I think
story earlier?
I think I got it.
We'll talk more about that.
We need to the bar. We're going to bar. We're talking.
Brewery.
Whatever.
We're ready.
Okay.
Spit it out.
I'm listening.
Don't choke on it.
Say time travel is possible or plausible, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, do you think it's possible to prevent a Mandela effect from happening?
Or do you think that time travel caused the Mandela effect? They changed something.
There's theories that the reason why 2020 was so messed up was people were going back trying to fix it, and it just made it worse. There's theories on Hitler.
Yeah.
He drowned and was saved by a priest. He as an infant, he had issues. Like, if you actually look at him, his history, like, he had a lot of near-death experiences that people going back
And botching it.
or they killed him, and then they had to go back and save him because it made things worse.
Even worse.
But he's such a
That's crazy.
like, why would a painter want to take over the world? Well, don't reject him at school.
Have you not read Stephen King's 11/11/63? Where he they made a show about it, but the guy finds a portal in his closet that takes him back to 11/11/63, and he's like trying to figure out
It takes him back to a year before.
Sorry, and he thinks it's because he needs to stop the assassination of JFK.
Oh, yes, I do know that.
And he actually pulls it off, comes back, and the world's like a fucking apocalypse.
In the end, he just saves someone.
Yeah. So that's
Not
a good
JFK.
point. That
Something else I got to watch now.
Oh, yeah.
oh, it's good.
Well, one of the things, like, somebody on TikTok was talking about it. I probably watch way too much TikTok. But was talking about Stephen Hawking.
At least you don't believe it all.
Yeah. Stephen Hawking had a party to prove whether or not time travel was real.
Yeah.
And in his theory, like, hey, we already had the party. If you're a time traveler, you would have shown up. Well, little did we know, a couple of years ago, his name showed up on a certain list.
What list?
Starts with an E.
Yeah. Epstein's
list. So that breaks that theory, because why, in the future, if they know he was on that list, would they want to be associated with him for time travel?
Unless you can only travel backwards in time.
That's what he was.
Yeah.
That's why he said, I've already had the party, the invitations for any time travel. And his point was, since no one came to the party as a time traveler, that disproves time traveling abilities. But the problem is, now that he was put on that list, why would anybody go back to visit somebody that was on that list?
Gotcha.
That's correct.
I didn't correlate that.
And those are part of the problems with time travel and when you get into time streams. Like, if you go back to save President Kennedy, why would you go back in your timeline? That means there has to be a split, because there's no reason for you to go back and save him if he was already saved.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's all sort of what are those paradoxes that you go through? Mm-hmm. But could cause Mandela effects. I mean, we don't, well, like, I always love, like, well, can it really be that bad that what I'm doing, no one's came back to stop me? Or did they?
I personally think that all of the mundane ones with the names and Curious George's Tale, all that stuff, that's all super mundane.
Yeah.
I think that that's all misremembering. I think that people that I think there's part of it. I think, people just generally misremember. I think it's also trendy to be a part of the group that remembers it differently. I think that adds to it. I don't think that everybody that feels like they're doing it is lying about it. But that doesn't mean that they remember it correctly. I think that when it comes down to the individual, your story, who else had that? That's different than a whole group of people saying, "Oh, I remember that differently too." Because I'm not saying that everybody wants to be part of the group. I'm saying that adds to the level of people that remember something differently. Because, one, they would have never have thought of that or noticed that until somebody started talking about it online.
But
it also...
My old kitty's photos aren't there.
They're all just innocuous. I don't think that it's not that they couldn't change. And like I said before, I think that anything's possible. So I'm not saying that it's not possible. I just think that they're all misremembering it.
So you're going to say yes. Is it possible that there can be individualized Mandela effects, and that's what deja vu is?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's plausible.
It doesn't cause an effect for humanity. It only causes an effect for you.
How would you know, though? How do you not know because we got, 5.6 billion?
Because you're the one that recognizes it as
we have
deja
close to
vu.
8 billion people on the planet now.
So what I'm saying, though, if 10% of them have the same...
No. So what I'm saying is, you guys go to the brewery this afternoon, right? And you're like, this has already happened. These people, we've already been here with these specific people before. He doesn't remember it. No one else brings it up. That's a specific instance of a Mandela effect for you.
Well, that's what deja vu already is.
Yeah. But would you consider that?
That's why I brought up. Maybe that might be the beginning of a Mandela effect for you, shifting your timeline. You don't know, though.
But it only affects you.
Well, that's what you think. How do you not know 1 million people at the same time are having deja vu? Because why would you record that?
But they're not having that specific instance of deja vu.
They're having deja vu at the moment, at the same time you are.
That's a good point.
Because they're like, OG starts having deja vu right now. The three of us don't have the deja vu, but there's 1 million other people have deja vu at the same time, because that is a slip in the parallel
in time.
So I would be...
How hard would that be to prove?
Especially you.
The other thing that adds to the idea that people are misremembering things is we've started as a society realizing that eyewitness accounts don't really mean shit.
Yeah.
You change it in your brain. You tell a story. So I have an example of it myself. My story of the bear hug in the basement, or my story of the thing that came into my house that night and I felt like I was fighting it off. I go back, and it's not big changes, but I recorded it then. I recorded it on Ecto. I've talked about it in different things. There's slight, small changes to how I talk about the trees in a dream, or the differences. And it's not that I'm purposefully changing that. It's just your brain changes it. So that, I feel like, is a lot of what's happening.
Yeah.
On a massive scale, though?
Yeah, well, because it's...
I get what you're saying. It's some people going, I think I remember it that way.
It's confirmation bias.
Yeah.
It's, it must be the way that I remember it because 1,000 other people also have the same thing that I do.
And there's a lot of factors that can play into that. Is But you remember the surround. I'm going to focus on the trees. You remember the surroundings of that night and the trees. That's why you wrote it down that way. Mm-hmm. When you recollected it on the ectoplasm show, your mind is fixated on how the trees may look in the moment, and then later on, the trees are different. So that it's a real time manipulation, even though you're not manipulating it. Does that make sense?
So yes, to me, but what I want to get back to is on the confirmation bias. This is the same thing that we deal with when we're talking about ghost hunting, paranormal cryptids, and all that. That's why I didn't say anything to OG when he mentioned the Bearstein Bears. He looked it up himself with us not saying anything and was like, oh shit, that is not the way it is now, is not how I remember it. And that's not just him. That was me, my sister.
It was Berenstein.
And
not Berenstein.
Yes, but the reason he was looking it up was for this. He didn't just come across it in the wild.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm not saying that it's not possible that it did change.
But how many times at a point that you get enough? Now I get some of the confirmational bias, but at some point we're talking millions of people remember it a different way.
Yeah.
So I remember
but there comes a point where like some of it, yeah.
But do they really remember it a different way, or do they just find it odd and think that it might have been different? And then when they think, oh, well, was it different? We talked about in the superstitions how with the pyramids around the world and different things happen where it's like a world event where things happen the same in different places without necessarily contact. There may have been contact. That's a whole different story. But there isn't any reason to think that people can't have the same experience around the world and have it be incorrect.
Yeah. So I'm gonna jump in on this, and you were talking about deja vu and millions of people having it globally. I'm gonna take a note from all of our friends, Mike Nichols from PRI, and talk about global consciousness. Do you think that it could be quantifiable with random number generators and all that other kind of stuff?
Something to be looking at. Well, and I think that would also prove whether or not it's a Hadron Collider or not.
Yeah.
Because if you get those random number generators start going to non-random,
because
right before the Hadron Collider is fired up, that would be a good indication that there's something there. Wouldn't prove anything, but it would be a good indication.
Because I'm gonna take into account the story that he told us about 9/11, where the global consciousness spiked. Was it hours or something before? Was that the Mandela effect going into place?
I have a question for Mike that actually pertains to all this too, that I've been thinking about for the last several months on it. And it also actually it goes back to something we talked about with the Hadron Collider itself, is proximity. When he's using the random number generator in a haunted location, how does he realize that I understand that if something happens and that happens, you can say, oh, there's a correlation there. But how does he know that random number generator isn't going off for something halfway around the world?
That's a very good point. That's
how do you quantify that? And to them, and it's kind of to push back on their idea. At one point, a couple of years ago, they were thinking about, oh, well, now maybe we can start going to a place and prove it's haunted for them.
Yeah.
I feel like you're not even taking that into account then, that it could be something else.
In Indonesia or something.
Well, no, what if those haunting events aren't just happening at that house? What if it is a slip in the veil of a universe or dimension that's actually all across the world? We just don't correlate that because it's at different times because of our time zone.
And we're there for a reason. They are there for a reason to see what they can experience at that house.
Yeah.
So they don't think, oh, it could be a broader event.
God, shit.
I was like, oh, Jesus. Because what you're talking about, deja vu. Well, that's really hard to prove how many people are having deja vu at the same time. It's going to be different places. And then you're bringing up a number generator.
Sorry.
How do you know it's not picking up the event that's happening 5 blocks down versus across the world? But what if it does pick up everything? Because that is all a shift at that moment in time, and you happen to be at the right place, right time. You're seeing that there's somebody's at McIntyre, we're at the Sally, you're at Garnett or Melbourne, and why is the witching hour?
Yeah.
3 o'clock.
And I just want to reiterate, it's not that I don't believe that any of the Mandela stuff is possible. What I try to think about is things that people don't think about on the macro level. That's why I was bringing up that it could be possible that everybody has the same experience of misremembering. It's not that a million people came to a thought, so that must be the right thought. I see it the same with the number generator.
Yeah.
So that's why.
No, that's fabulous. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a more than valid point.
Guess we're going to have to talk with Mike. And
I've been wanting to ask him, and I haven't seen him since I started thinking about that.
We can send him this clip. There's a post.
I'd rather talk to him in person, to be honest.
We'd be talking like we would like to get the whole group together and do this because I mean, like all of them get their take. Scott, Dan, Lisa, Mike. I know I'm missing a few people because they got like 7 people on.
Dan and Scott will be at the Midwest Bushcraft Show, Bushcraft and Bluegrass in November.
That'll be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I don't think Mike Nichols will come camping, but
might be able to talk him to come out for a little bit of discussion.
So to close this up,
I do have one more thing that goes to what we were just talking about.
Just one more
thing.
I finally got to say that.
There would be a way.
I've had that.
It would have to be a massive movement of having random number generator at thousands of places while people are investigating. You'd have to have everybody committed to do it. It wouldn't necessarily prove anything, but it would add to the idea.
But it would if, say, you had 1,000 of them out throughout the world, right? We're at McIntyre or Sally or wherever the fuck we're at. It's going off because we just experienced something, but at the exact same time, the device in Singapore is going off, but nothing's happening. That would prove credence.
It wouldn't prove it because the experience is experienced by us. We don't have any validation that what we experienced was something that we didn't create in our own head.
No.
Or we didn't. And I understand what you're saying.
I'm saying that it proves credence that it's all happening at the same time.
But you can say that the sun put out some kind of ionic flare that made us think that something paranormal happened and happened to kick the random number generator.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that the paranormal.
No, okay.
Yeah,
he's just saying the events are linked.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I was getting at.
Question. And then, is it all the way across was it all 1,000 number generators, or was it just 500? And was it, as you said, is it proximity? Were those 500s within a certain area?
Yeah.
But then, then was that a solar flare?
Not paranormal. I don't know why I said we experienced something. I'm just saying if they all went off at the same time.
Well, that's because that's what they're doing. Yeah. They're correlating experiences with the random number generator, which is great. But that experience is an improvable thing. The number generator going off doesn't prove why you had that experience.
But you bring up a good point. We could put 1,000 on Earth, 1,000 on Mars, a couple on the moon, and if they only happen on Earth, then that could be like you said, maybe a ray of something hit Earth. But if they're going off on all these different places throughout the universe, then that could mean...
DARPA, if you're watching, please fund this project. Yeah.
Small donation of $1 billion will go a long way.
$1 million.
That was a B billion. we and no taxes.
So let us know, or do you want to close it? Let's let you close this one out.
So let us
I
know
feel bad.
what you think. Comment below. Tell us whether or not we're onto something. We're not. Like, subscribe. Definitely check out Wood Life, Strange Paranormal, KC or Paracon KC. All our friends from PRI to Drunken Cryptids to Myth Monster Smollets, Ghost Gossips, Cryptids of the Corn, Darkwoods Paranormal,
Nevermore Hollows.
Cryptids Paranormal, Nevermore Hollows, and I think that's for right now. Like and subscribe. Patreon paid. You get to see our blooper reels. Definitely worth checking out. OG, you got anything to close out?
No, I'm kind of blown by this, so this was fun for me. Obviously, I'm going to do some more research on this. So right now, I'm just on the ladder. I'm not sure which
Maybe we need a recap at another time. Talk about.
I think that'd be good.
I think this would be a good discussion with other people too.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those free floating topics. Where do you?
We should film this the next time they fire it
Yeah.
in 2026.
Mandela Effects and Deja Vu.
So
Tim, what do you think?
I'm on the fence as well. I think, like Jason says, it's a possibility with the names and the visuals and the logos and all that kind of stuff. I think it can be induced from pop culture and all that stuff and just how we're wired. The ones that I find interesting are the personal experience ones, like JD had with the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's Mandela or not.
What about you, Jason?
If you feel personally attacked by my views, please join their Patreon, and if you pay, I will answer your questions.
I love it.
Yeah, the answer will be, it's plausible.
Until next time.
Be safe.
Take care.